So, the other day I accidentally watched a Michael Bay movie.
What? How? Why?
You know how it is. You're scrolling through Netflix looking for something to watch, an action thriller perhaps, and then this movie called Ambulance pops up, and we thought, why not?
And you didn't know it was a Michael Bay film? I mean, it's right there on the poster.
It's not in the blurb. Netflix only listed some of the actors, but no one behind the camera. And anyway, we were looking for some exciting action, and that seemed to fit the bill.
Hold on, though. How can you not have seen any Michael Bay movie before? Bad Boys, Armageddon, Pearl Harbor, The Island, all of the Transformers. How could you not have seen any of those?
What can I say? I have taste?
Whoa, let's not start a flame war in the comments, shall we?
You're right, Mouse. So, we started watching Ambulance.
Because the action mostly takes place in an ambulance in LA.
Never judge a movie by its pretentious title. At least, I try not to, most of the time. And the story starts well enough. A veteran needs money for an experimental operation for his wife, as his insurance won't cover it.
Do you think political influencers want to introduce that system to the UK?
This isn't the place for a political discussion, Doc. So, the veteran goes to his brother for help, who seems to be well off, but it turns out he got all his money from dodgy deals and bank robberies, and he just so happens to need one more person for one last heist he's organized that's happening, like, right now.
Well, there's no time to waste. We need to get to the action. I have to agree this was highly convenient.
Anyway, a lot of stuff gets skipped to get to the action, like we don't see the taking of hostages at the bank. We only realize that's what happened later when a police officer comes in trying to chat to a teller he fancies.
And that's when it all goes wrong.
All this to get two robbers to steal an ambulance to escape, which happens to carry that police officer who was accidentally shot by the veteran earlier. And then it just goes insane.
This is chase after chase after chase after ludicrous chase.
Trying to escape the police that's chasing them, all while a paramedic does massive surgery on the police officer to keep him alive.
Didn't that remind you of that episode from Alias?
The one where Sydney had to drive an ambulance while someone else was performing open heart surgery on a Nobel Prize winner? That was beyond ludicrous.
And I got such similar vibes here.
Lucky her ex-boyfriend happened to be a surgeon who could talk her through it via Skype or something.
That was so ridiculous. And then there was a conference call with a couple of other surgeons who happened to be golfing at the time.
The wonders of modern technology.
Not so wonderful, because the battery conked out pretty shortly afterwards.
I can't begin to tell you how absurd all of this was, including operating on someone while the ambulance was driving at ludicrous speeds down the streets of LA, round corners, as they were being constantly chased by the police.
It was so funny. I laughed out loud in a few segments, although I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be funny or not. Anyway, to cut a long story short, this chase sequence, although very well shot for the most part, was just too damn long. I kept wondering, just what else can happen? What else can go wrong? And then the mob got involved for reasons, the ambulance is spray-painted green for more reasons, even though the plan was to confuse the police by having other ambulances going in different directions, which weren't spray-painted. And the mob deal turns sour, gunfire and explosions everywhere, and it was just so relentlessly exhausting. To be frank, the film was just way too long, and an hour could have easily been cut out of it. Like, leave out all the mob stuff for one, and you'd have a much better, tighter movie.
But there were some odd editing glitches too. Like, at one point, the brother is shooting at the police from the ambulance's side door, only for the next shot to have him shooting from the passenger door. Weird continuity shit like that.
So yeah, Ambulance may not have been the best movie to get introduced to Michael Bay's style of filmmaking. But our friend Oliver recommended The Rock, one of his first big-budget motion pictures, so we thought,
why not?
Maybe he wasn't so intense back then.
Don't people usually mellow with age?
Well, for one thing, The Rock was much better critically received. Plus, it had a very good Sean Connery and a very young-looking, crazy-eyed Nicolas Cage. What could go wrong?
A lot. A lot could go wrong.
You're not wrong. Anyway, what this movie taught me was that there are long shots, mid-shots, close-ups, extreme close-ups, and Michael Bay close-ups. Dang, I can only imagine how intense those looked on the big screen.
Is Michael Bay extremely short-sighted or something?
Now, I know he's very well known for his massive car chases and explosions.
Having watched Ambulance, that reputation is well deserved.
But I thought, this is a movie about breaking into a prison. Maybe The Rock was made before he established himself as the king of destruction. But no, Somehow he managed to squeeze in a totally pointless and ridiculous car chase scene where everything was exploding left, right, and center.
I wonder if this was meant to be a comedy, because during that chase, an elderly woman with a cane started crossing the street, and come on, she must have been deaf and blind considering what was happening around her. And then a minute later, 3 men in wheelchairs decided now was the right time to cross the road too.
Some kind of Keystone Cops parody?
Can you parody a comedy?
Seems to me, if anyone can, Michael Bay can. And the main point of the film, its entire reason for being, was odd. Ed Harris played a highly decorated war hero who wants the families of the men who died under his command to get proper compensation from the government and for their heroism to be recognized. It's a pretty noble request.
Yeah, but it's done while holding hostages and having a super deadly chemical weapon ready to fire on the people of San Francisco.
Desperate means for desperate times, I guess. I actually thought old Ed had a fair point, yet no one in the government even attempted to accommodate his demands. Their plan was to take him down, yet I felt I should be rooting for Ed.
Why not root for them all?
You're right, how could we not root for Sean? And Nick, he's just mannered up to make all of this work. Now, if you thought a pointless car chase full of explosions was peak Bay, there's a bit where Sean needs to break into Alcatraz through a furnace with giant rotating cogwheels and fireballs on timed releases.
Did it not remind you of that scene from Galaxy Quest?
How could it not? I was laughing my tail off, it was so absurd. I was also getting strong National Treasure vibes during the abandoned mine under Alcatraz scene.
Both movies had the same producer and the same lead actor.
And those who like to recognize music cues will totally notice the burgeoning inspiration for the main Pirates of the Caribbean theme within The Rock's score.
Hans Zimmer was involved in both, and it shows.
Crazy and ridiculous though The Rock was, it perhaps predictably didn't make much sense.
Like Ambulance didn't.
Yes, there's definitely a recurring trend. Like, at one point, Ed did all he could to get Sean and Nick killed, while later, he needed them alive for reasons. I mean, it allowed them to get to the end of the movie alive, but it didn't really help with Ed's actual plans. Then we have a quick scene with Nick's girlfriend, who came to San Francisco to be with him, unaware that this was to be ground zero for Ed's chemical warfare. So she's being driven to somewhere by some kind of chubby bodyguard, only she doesn't like that, so she leaves the car and runs away. And yet, a few minutes later, we see her safe and sound at the CNC. So what was the point of showing her running away?
That's not the half of it. At one point, Nick tells Sean how dangerously unstable those little green vials of super toxic chemicals are, and shortly afterwards, we see him running around with one in his hand, and later getting punched repeatedly with one in his pocket.
I love that the solution to any poison, lethal chemical, anything really, was to plunge a syringe into your heart. They nearly had to do it at the start of the movie in the scene that establishes Nick's character, and he had to do it at the end, even though it was a totally different chemical. Somehow, injecting your heart protects you from flesh-eating chemicals. Cool.
And what about the missile shot at Alcatraz?
Yeah, that stuff was supposed to pulverize anything it touches, but all it does to Nick is hurl him into the sea. Okay, he's knocked out, but there's very little pulverization that took place.
Maybe the heart syringe protected him from that too?
Ha! That must be it. Pretty cool stuff.
So yeah, that movie was bad. And the icing on the cake were all the secrets Sean had stolen years ago on behalf of the British government, which he refused to give back, which is why he was incarcerated for decades.
Oh yeah, secrets about the aliens in Roswell and who really shot Kennedy. You're certain that wasn't supposed to be a comedy?
So I've now watched 2 Michael Bay movies made 26 years apart. Both had crazy pointless action, ludicrous plots, and absurd stories, so that's his brand. And I think I've experienced enough Michael Bay-ness to last me a lifetime.
But what about Bad Boys?
I didn't know he made that one. Actually, the sequel's on Netflix too, but I couldn't get past the first 10 minutes.
Armageddon? Come on, it's got old drillers in space. Aren't we supposed to love sci-fi?
Not all sci-fi, mind. We have standards.
How about historical drama then?
You call Michael Bay's Pearl Harbor a historical drama? Don't make me laugh.
I suppose Transformers is
totally out of the question.